Colorful Cape Town is one of the most multiracial cities in the world. The city sits on South Africa's Cape Peninsula, where the waters of the Atlantic and Indian Oceans converge, and spectacular mountains tumble towards the sea. For centuries, the Cape of Good Hope was synonymous with danger as European ships bravely rounded the perilous waters en route to the riches of Asia. To resupply those passing ships, the Dutch created a tiny outpost in 1652, a settlement that would blossom into one of the most beautiful cities in one of the most breathtaking settings on Earth. For decades, Cape Town has been buffeted too by the crosswinds of social upheaval. But just like those early ships, Cape Town had endured some of history's most turbulent waters and set course to an optimistic future. This is a city that, despite its challenges, shines as an example of hope, not only to South Africa, but to the world. Cape Town's central area is situated in the City Bowl. This amphitheater-shaped area begins at the edge of Table Bay and is backed by the iconic 2-mile-long plateau of Table Mountain. Near the bowl's center, you'll find the Castle of Good Hope. This Dutch East India fort was the center point from which the city grew. Nearby, visit Company's Garden, whose rich soils were cultivated to provide fresh produce for those early merchant ships. All around the gardens, some of the city's most important institutions sprang up, such as the Parliament Building and the National Library. On the park's southern end, in the South African Museum and Planetarium, experience the wonders of Africa, from the power of pre-colonial rock art to the giants of the Cape's natural world. While just a few steps away, centuries of creativity are on full display at the National Gallery. Fusing both contemporary and old world architecture, the nearby South African Jewish Museum stands as a tribute to a community that has done much to shape the country. Just a few blocks away, don't miss the District 6 Museum. This museum and cultural center gives voice to the 60,000 non-white residents who were forcibly removed from the city and saw their vibrant multiracial neighborhood flattened during the darkest days of the apartheid era. Thankfully, one neighborhood that was spared from apartheid's wrecking ball is Boerkaap. Despite decades of racial segregation, traditional Cape Malay culture proudly continues amid the row houses and cobbled streets of this incredibly colorful hillside suburb. Post-apartheid South Africa is often called the Rainbow Nation, and like a pot of gold at the end of that rainbow, diversity, transformation, and creativity shines out from the city's downtown streets, from its businesses, from its very walls. If you're passionate about coffee, stop by for an espresso or maybe two at Truth, a steampunk coffee shop that welcomes devotees from all over the world. Once you've had your caffeine fix, wander along Long Street, where elegant Victorian architecture, fashion, and food collide, creating one of the mother city's buzziest streets. When the coffee wears off, sit on a balcony with an ice-cold beer and watch the world slip by below. The spirit of rejuvenation continues at the Victoria and Alfred waterfront. at South Africa's oldest working harbour, spend the day exploring attractions such as Two Oceans Aquarium, which celebrates life beneath the waves of both the Atlantic and Indian Oceans. The waterfront is also the gateway to one of the world's most infamous prisons, Robben Island. Journey across the waters of Table Bay to experience the damp prison walls and windswept yards, and to listen to stories told by former inmates. For 3 centuries, this was a place of exile, largely unknown by the outside world, until 1964, when the anti-apartheid revolutionary Nelson Mandela was imprisoned here for 18 years. A visit here is a reminder of just how far South Africa has traveled on the long road to freedom. Mandela would one day rise to become more than South Africa's first black president. He became the father of the nation and inspired countless millions around the world. Mandela once said that it was the presence of Table Mountain across those 4 miles of water that inspired him throughout his long years on Robben Island. Wherever you are on the Cape, Table Mountain is there, a beloved landmark that helps locals and visitors alike to find their way. The closer you get to the mists of Table Mountain, the more its spirit can be felt. At Kirstenbosch Botanical Gardens, gaze up at the mountain's eastern face. Then explore South Africa's many biomes and the Boomslang Walkway, which snakes its way through the Arboretum canopy. From the gardens, take one of the walking trails up the mountain or climb aboard the cableway for the spectacular ride to the viewing area. From here, take in the views of Signal Hill, Devil's Peak, and Lion's Head, all the way out to Robben Island and beyond.